Yeah, so hi and welcome to the WRT panel of Worlds 2023. So happy to have all of you here. So I'm Sebastian, hi, team leader of the WCA results team, and this is
Jacob. I'm the senior member, and the data protection officer for the results for WCA.
Yeah. So today we're here to give you a nice introduction of the results team, what we do, how we do it to some extent, and at the end you will also have an opportunity to ask questions and get nice answers if you would like. So to start with, who is WRT or who is on WRT, and and how many people are actually on WRT? So to answer that, first of all, we should line out that WRT is actually one of the oldest teams in WCA. So back when WCA started, there was like the WCA board, there was a WCA website team, which is today the software team, and there was a WCA results team, which as you can see here on the nice graph with WRT team size over time, started with just one person, which was actually Ron van Bochum, one of the founders, later extended by Tyson Mao. And this comes nicely with the fact that actually until 2016 all board members were automatically WRT members as well. So this changed later in 2016, which you can see also on the graph if you pay really close attention. But that's how the team developed over time. Then we had like three major application periods in 2018, 2020, and 2022 that you can also see on the graph. And today we're actually a quite big team with 16 people in total. Please load.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, great.
Should we try to escape it?
Yeah.
It hasn't loaded the photos.
It really hasn't loaded the photos. So that's what you get for streaming a presentation from online. Hey! Yay! So now you see all the nice people that we have on the team. No, seriously, we have a great team with 60 people from 11 distinct nations. So you are seeing myself and Jacob there. We have three more senior members who are Daniel from India, Callum from Denmark, and Sam from the UK. Then we have James from Australia, Ivan from Spain, Oliver from the UK, Brandon from the US, Simon from the US, Modest from Ukraine, Eleanor from UK, Philippe from France, Sukash from India, Timo from Finland, and Paul from Korea. So what does WRT actually do? Well, we have several areas, but our main focus area is of course competition results. So we are the responsible entity in the WCA for uploading and posting, or we call this posting, competition results. That's actually a very interesting process you're going to see more about, at least of the current form, but there's also lots of history involved because this is really a process that was optimized many times in the past, starting from going from Excel workbooks which were just filled at competitions and had to be put on the page in some way, which involved lots of manual steps and took a lot of time per competition. Today all of this is way more standardized, so we run in less issues while posting results, which is of course needed with the rising number of competitions, as you're also going to see later. Apart from posting the results as we get them, we also are responsible for making change requests. So this can either happen when some mistake was not yet catched during double checking results, but can also come from decisions that are made later, for example by the regulations team, that then need a change in competition results. We also recognize records, so this is still a semi-automated process which may change in the future, but right now we always have to check if a certain record is really a record or was broken in a parallel competition, and we have to assign the record markers. and whenever there's a problem with submitting results, may it be easy or may it be something more dramatic, like loss of scrambled sequences, then we also support WCA delegates on providing the results to us. Then the next bigger area we are dealing with is registered speed cubers, in particular the data. So we are responsible for maintaining the WCA profiles, the WCA IDs, we manage all the personal data, dates of birth, so on and so forth. We execute change requests in that regard when there are errors or when there are updates to citizenships. And a quite fun activity we are also involved in is reviewing and approving avatars. So despite all the hype about AI we currently have, this is also still a process being done by humans at this point, so that we make sure that only appropriate pictures appear on the WCA website. We care a lot about data quality. So what started with people starting to look into the database to find things that are just not right or where the data is just not sound, has also evolved to a much larger thing. So at a certain point we started to collect sanity checks that we execute every month, at the beginning manually. These days we have a script running these for us and sending us a report so that we can fix data integrity issues regularly. Everything which cannot just be covered by a simple sanity check, we also look into more elaborate investigations, things like duplicate profiles, for example, or integrity of records and other things. We create and enforce standards around data, so for example about when and how to change citizenships, and also how WCA profile names can look like. And we backfill new features. So for example, when a new database feature is added, we support by adding past data to it. Very good example for this is that at some point events pages were added for all WCA competitions, and based on results data we backfilled this data for all competitions in the WCA database. Then we do data analysis. So as I already said before, we analyze the database for various means, maybe data quality or just any other interesting research. In particular, we do a lot of statistics. We compile statistics for other teams, like for annual letters by the board or the communications team. We also help WCA staff with requests when it comes to statistics and related problems. And we advise on delegate promotions. So we check if a certain junior delegate, when they are eligible for promotion, we check if they have been doing well on the result submissions in the past, and we advise correspondingly. And last but not least, this is the area that Jacob is responsible for, and that's also one of the newer responsibilities of our team, because there was a data protection committee in the past, which was merged with the results team in 2020. So now we are also responsible for data protection. So we research global policies to update and maintain the WCA privacy policy. And yeah, we write these policies for the WCA and maintain them. We advise WCA staff when there are data privacy related issues, and we also handle privacy related requests like for profile anonymizations. And with this, I hand over to Jacob.
Yeah. So I'm going to take us through the results journey. So what actually happens with your scorecard once you finish all your solves, and how does it end up on the WCA website? So you can see here, this is one of my averages from a few months ago. I just completed it, and so from there, the scorecard is entered into WCA Live or any sort of live results that are being used. The primary one right now is WCA Live. And then we can see here that once that's entered, I get a row here. I got 15th place in this round. And then after that, at some point, this result is double checked by a delegate or a trusted member of the community that the delegate trusts to double check results. And they look over, make sure all the times are correct, and make any changes if needed. And this can happen during the competition or after the competition. After that, the physical scorecard is taken home by the delegates, and then from there, the delegate will compile the results JSON. So what they do is they take their results and they add the scrambles to it. That's what this thing on the left here is. That is the scramble matcher. So that will go through and the delegate can assign what scrambles were used. And then the output of this is this big JSON file that nobody really likes to read, and they don't ever really have to read it, but it is a very concise way to have all the results in a very computer readable format. From there, the delegate will submit that JSON file on the WCA website. And whenever they upload those results, they'll get either warnings or errors, or it might be a clean submission. For errors, they have to address those errors and fix them. For warnings, they have to address the warnings, whether it be correcting them or letting the results team know, hey, this is correct. And then once they submit that, the results team will get an email that looks like this, that says, hey, the delegate has uploaded the results and it is ready for the results team to post them. Once the results team member sees that in their inbox and they go to upload results, they can go in, and the first thing that they'll do is they'll take the imported results and put them into the actual database. So it will move from kind of a temporary table into the results table with all of the results. From there, we then generate all the WCA IDs and create all the persons for that competition. And that's a little bit of a process itself. After that, we assign any records that need to be assigned. Sometimes there are cases like if two of the same record was broken on the same day, we only need to assign one of those records. Or in cases that multiple competitions have the same record. After all that's done, what we do is we run this thing called compute auxiliary data. And that basically computes all the rankings for everything and updates some caching files so that everything on the WCA website can be accurate and complete.
PBs in particular.
Yes. From there, once the compute auxiliary data is finished, the results team member will post the results, which will make the results show up on the competition page and your WCA profile. All right, and so that's how we get from the scorecard all the way onto the results, the WCA website. The next thing we're going to go over is a different aspect of the results team, which is creating statistics for the WCA. Sometimes we do this internally for looking at specific stuff. Sometimes we get requests from staff members or board members of, hey, we need these stats, but here's just some fun stats that we wanted to show off. So this first graph right here shows the average of 3x3 averages, that's the blue line, and then the average winning time at competitions. And so over time, it has slowly gone down. And we're sitting in what, about 8-second average?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's below 8 by now.
Yeah. First thing we're going to look at is just how big competitions are getting. So one way that we can look at this is looking at how many physical score sheets are at a competition. And as we can see here, it went up and up and up over time. And then we have a little bit of a drop. You'll see that throughout a lot of these graphs. That's whenever COVID hit in 2020, 2021, and we didn't have any competitions. So we had a big drop in a lot of stuff, and then we've quite spikingly shot back up. We can see that this year we don't have as many scorecards on average per competition. However, we haven't really hit our championship season, which is the summer and fall. And so those championship seasons will generally turn a lot more scorecards and actually bump that number up quite significantly. On the right here, we can see the total number of scorecards that are the top 10. This 2 weekends ago, it was significantly broken at the US Nationals with 8,000 scorecards, which is a lot of scorecards, and I'm sure that Worlds will have around that number, if not more.
we may see 5 digits there.
And then we also wanted to point out non-championships, which includes some more regional championships that aren't recognized by WCA, and just some more bigger comps there. But those are also a significant number of scorecards. So let's look at just how big our database is. Whenever we're talking about the results table, one scorecard is equal to one row in the database. And there are currently 3,627,982 rows of results in our database, which is a lot. And that's posed quite a bit of issues software-wise. So, and then out of all that, we have 16 million total solves and 787,000 DNFs. And then it's exponentially growing. So we can see that before the pandemic, that it was going up exponentially, and then already we're only halfway through 2023, and we already have more results this year than last year. So it is very much going up at a very rapid pace. Another thing we can look at is the number of competitions happening every weekend. Again, we see the big spike, but we are, if you look on the right side, these are the top number of, or the weekends with the most competitions that have happened. And it is overfilled with 2023. We actually have to get down to 41 before we see the first non-2023. And that causes an increased workload on WCA, the competition announcement committee, and the results team, as well as many more committees that have to deal with stuff with each competition. We can also look at the scramble size. So it's not quite as exponential, but the number of scrambles in the database have gone up quite a bit. And we can also look at the number of registered speed cubers, which also follows more of that exponential growth. The WCA has had a lot of different countries compete. We are up over 150 different countries, different nationalities represented in WCA, and we're at, I want to say the number is 116 countries that have had WCA competitions, and that number tends to grow a little bit every single year. Of course, there's a finite number of countries, so we're eventually we'll hit a limit.
Not that exponential, but
yeah,
developing new communities is slow. But
yeah,
we're getting there.
One thing that we wanted to look at was how fast does the results team post results? And I think something that we're very proud of is on the graph on the left, you can see that over time, we've actually decreased our posting results delay. And so this means that whenever the delegate submits it, those results are getting uploaded faster and faster onto the WCA website. So competitors are able to have the results. One thing that's fun is we have a top 10 for our fastest posters. Simon and Callum snuck this in within the past 2 weeks of getting 4-minute and 24-second from start to finish uploading results, which is super, super fast. But
and even for posting results, there are lucky cases.
Yeah, because you gotta wait on the comp auxiliary data to finish, and you might get a no newcomer skip. So
or a record skip.
Yeah. All right, that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Do you realistically expect the format of WCA IDs with 4 letters of the last name and 2 auto-increment digits to ever run out for certain combinations like Chen in
Yes.
China, for example?
We do, and we actually, you won't believe it, but we had that discussion pretty early in WCA history. So that happened around 2012, and we found a solution back then. So we were discussing at this point if we were about to change that format, or to continue having it. Actually, I think I'm mistaken, it may have been 2013, but quite a long time ago. So we were debating at this point to switch to 3 digits in the end, but which wouldn't have been a long-term solution. So instead,
Right.
after reaching the 99s, which we actually did then for the first time for some Chinese names, we are still taking the first 3 letters of the last names, but exchanging the
Adding
4th with the first letter of the first name, and that is done consistently. So even if that sequence of 4 letters would run
Yeah.
out, we would switch to 2, and so on and so forth. So I don't have the exact numbers from the top of my head, but we really figured out that this leaves a lot more space than actually switching to 3 digits.
Okay, cool. I was aware of the padding trick with the first
Yeah.
name, but my question kind of alluded to the fact whether that padded system will ever run out, and you can't
Yeah,
just call that with your last name.
it's really a huge
Okay, there's
a huge number of combinations that it's possible by doing that, especially because you introduce more diversity when switching to the first names, because then you are not expecting to have always the same letters.
Mhm.
So essentially you switch from a room of 100 to a room of 26 times 100, roughly speaking, of course. Yeah.
So we are replacing the last letter with the first name's first letter. So
Exactly.
what if both are same?
Sorry?
What if the 4th letter is same as the first letter?
That's a good question. Not sure I'm able to answer that accurately, but I think it would switch to the second letter of the first name.
Hey, I can pick up that one because I migrated the routine from
Okay.
PHP to Rails. It actually quite stupidly just tries the replacement without noticing that it's the same. But while we loop over all of the different combinations, we do keep track of which ones we've already tried. So it would execute the replacement, try it without realizing that it's the same as the last name, but then later realize that this ends up resulting in a combination that we have already tried before. And then just continue looping until it finds a combination it hasn't tried before.
And it would probably switch to 2-2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually to 3-1 even.
Yeah. And eventually we would actually, interestingly, the dummy letter that is used in case that no suitable letter is found is U, not something like X, but U is actually the least used letter in WCA IDs. That's why we decided for U to be chosen there.
At least it was at some point. It might
Yeah.
be worth reevaluating that.
I have a question. So as you go through this period of exponential growth in people competing and data that needs to be entered, how do you go through addressing that growth and still keep it sustainable for your team?
Yeah, that's a good question. Should I start?
Go for it.
Yeah, so as I very briefly touched when talking about the results posting process, so from the very beginning, when it was still acceptable to spend like an hour on posting a single competition's result by using Excel spreadsheets and using manual SQL queries just to enter the results, we have had so many optimizations, and we are continuously working, especially close with the software team, to improve our processes more and more. So that the time needed for posting a single competition's results has now gone down to below 10 minutes on average. Still depends on the competition size, of course, and number of newcomers, but even there's just improvement potential. So we have increased the size of the team, but of course there are limits to that, so we will not be able to have a huge team at some point to just cope with that. So we will continue to optimize the posting process. We have lots of ideas in mind there. This can come through speed of the database, which is limiting us to some extent, but also through simplification of the process, more automation, maybe when it comes to record computation, but also maybe loading of more work to delegates, which is something we have partially already done, at least indirectly, when we introduced result validation logic on the WCA website. So what Jacob mentioned earlier, there are now errors shown and warnings shown when delegates upload results. Before this was implemented, this was something we had to notice and take care of and ask the delegates to fix that in case it's needed. So there are a lot of things that are now already being caught automatically. So we don't have to handle these issues, and delegates have to fix them before they send the results. That already removes more work. We will surely add more such validators in the future, and maybe even offload things like newcomer creation to delegates in the future, or at least partially. So we have a lot of ideas there, and so far there was never a big concern that we may run out of capacity. So far we have really been lucky enough to run ahead of the growth and manage everything well with the team. And I hope it will remain like that.
There's at least 8 people on here watching as well. Would you like me to turn the volume up to see if they have questions?
Sure.
All right, if you guys have questions, you can ask now if you have any. Okay, no one's saying anything. I think they're asleep. They're on here, but I think they're asleep.